Greetings, Seeker. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're setting the stage for a pretty intense, highly theatrical journey straight into the deepest conflicts of the human soul. For our time together, think of me as the ancient, wise dragon of this mythological landscape, here to guide you through the extraordinary source material we're analyzing. We are stepping into a profound narrative called The Architects of the Garden of Becoming. It's a story that basically holds up a giant mirror to our own inner struggles, our deepest fears, and ultimately our incredible potential.
Okay, so let's just dive right into it. The overflowing energy of becoming. I really want to hook you with this concept from the get-go, because the garden of becoming we are entering, it is definitely not some perfectly manicured, peaceful little lawn. At its very heart, it pulses with raw, chaotic power. It's thick, it's wild, and it is entirely untamed. And that is the absolutely crucial starting point for us today. We have to understand that true spiritual and personal growth is not some tidy, polite process. It's a fierce, overflowing force.
Act 1. The Wilderness of the Self. So, stepping into this vibrant, untamed realm is our protagonist, the Wanderer. He's a unified subject who has already walked through his own fires. And through his eyes, we witness this epic core conflict. On one side, you've got the wild lilies. These flowers bloom with just this fierce intensity, rising literally out of the mud of the abyss. They run on chaotic energy and raw power, essentially shouting a holy yay to their very existence. But then on the exact opposite side, we have the village of stone and steel. This village is all about cold machines, rigid scaffolding, absolute safety, and false idols. What we're really looking at here is the fundamental clash between the fierce mud-born vitality of the wild and the sterile mechanical safety of human artificiality.
Now, as the Wanderer makes his way among the lilies, we uncover a pretty profound truth about this garden. It actually celebrates the physical form. The great reason of the body isn't just some muddy river that we're supposed to despise or ignore so we can focus on pure intellect. Not at all. It is a massive source of raw creative power. The body itself is the mighty ruler of the soul, the true source of spiritual authority when it's properly aligned with the natural chaos of becoming.
Act 2. The Intrusion of the Artificial.
Of course, the Wanderer doesn't stay alone in this wild beauty for long. Right at the garden's edge, he runs into a group known as the Little Souls. These are visitors who have ventured out from that village of stone and steel we just talked about. And man, this perfectly illustrates a really tragic paradox. These little souls are standing at the edge of the wild, wearing these shimmering golden masks. The masks are beautiful, reflecting the chaotic, radiant light of the garden's blooms. But here's the catch. The people wearing them are physically turning their backs to the beauty. The mask is entirely superficial. It's just a tool they use to hide from the reality of true organic life. So you have these golden masks standing in stark, sterile contrast to the raw, living vitality of the wild lilies. Sure, they look shiny, but inside, they are completely hollow. Seeing this tragedy unfold, the Wanderer speaks up. With this newfound inner certainty, the kind you only get when you've conquered your own demons, he asks them a really piercing question. Why do you turn from the lilies? This one simple inquiry brings our entire narrative to its emotional climax. It is a question that cuts right through the golden metal of those masks.
Act 3. The Diagnosis of the Soul. To truly understand why they turn their backs, we need to diagnose the spiritual famine that is plaguing them. It's called the psychic vacuum. Think of it as an invisible sickness. It's this strange malaise and spiritual famine that is born completely out of terror. These little souls are absolutely terrified of stepping onto the Creator's path. They look down into the gaping abyss of what they could potentially become, and the sheer magnitude of that freedom creates a vacuum of emptiness that just consumes them. It is this exact vacuum that keeps them chained to their safe mechanical village existence.
So how do they survive that terrifying psychic vacuum? Well, they build armor. Let's unpack what the source calls their regressive defense mechanisms. They clutch these tattered political banners. They hide in the safety of the collective shadow, much preferring to blend into the crowd rather than stand alone. They actively sacrifice their own unique human personality just to slip into an easy social persona. They rely heavily on the rigid scaffolding of communal myths, and they worship false idols. And why do they do all of this? Simply to defend themselves against the difficult, agonizing labor that's required to become the architects of their own meaning.
When confronted by the Wanderer, one of the men, who is clutching his tattered banner, actually looks away in deep shame. Read this quote with me. "We are but bridges that broke, unable to reconcile our poor reason with the chaotic nature of this place." He is utterly convinced that he is unworthy of the heroic ideal. And the real tragedy here isn't that he lacks potential, it's that his own shame prevents him from ever even trying to reach it.
Act 4. the path of the Creator.
The wanderer hears all their excuses, but he absolutely does not accept them. Instead, he demands that these villagers awaken the unknown sage that is hidden right there in their own blood. To awaken that sage and reach what the text calls the great noon of revelation, you have to become an internal judge. What does that mean? It means becoming a unified soul who stops just tearing things down. You cease being a mere breaker of tablets. Instead, you embrace the terrifying freedom to author your own meaning and your own inner laws. You literally have to become the ultimate authority over your own existence.
The wanderer drops a harsh but ultimately liberating truth on them. The treasure you are so desperately seeking, it's not going to be found by scavenging through the ruins of the old temple. And you certainly won't find it hiding back in the rigid village of stone and steel. The truth can only be forged within you, through the courageous authorship of your own story.
So how exactly is this done? Well, the wanderer breaks down his ancient mystical instructions into what he calls the alchemical dance. Step 1. Face the chaos within directly. Step 2. Stop running from your vast potential. And step 3. Take that deep-seated shame, turn the poison of unworthiness, and use it as the very fuel for your transformation. It's all about transmuting your deepest fears into a raging creative fire.
But unfortunately, what actually happens? The little souls reject the call. They continue their tragic retreat, running right back to the cold efficiency of their machines, entirely forsaking the radiant dawn of the age of the hero. They turn their backs one final time, leaving the wild lilies to bloom in a brave solitude. A solitude that the villagers simply were not brave enough to claim for themselves.
And so, as your guide through this garden today, I have to ask you directly, will you hide behind a golden mask, just reflecting the light of others while turning your back on the real work? Or will you embrace the mud, face your own psychic vacuum, and claim the brave solitude of the wild lilies? The overflowing energy of becoming is waiting for you out there, but only if you have the courage to author your own story. Think on that for a bit, and I'll see you in our next explainer.